Hello everyone. As I said in my intro video, our lives have been very difficult while getting through this pandemic. But our lives are not going to get any better if we can't work together as a society. But we're still at each other's throats. And I'm seeing that that's mainly because of our socio-political differences. The reason we keep attacking each other is because we don't want to take the time to understand each other. So each side ends up trying to bully the other into submission, to no avail. Now, as a conservative, it's very difficult to not take these attacks personally. In just about every aspect of popular culture and mainstream media, the liberal thinkers are portrayed as the heroes, and the conservative thinkers are portrayed as the villains. And if anyone dares to reverse the morality on that, then the work gets dismissed as whiny, pretentious, or just propaganda. There's an unfortunate stigma that comes with being conservative, and I believe that stems from the fact that it's easy to just point to people and say, "You're the good guys, and you're the bad guys." The real world is a lot more complicated than that, of course. It takes a lot more effort to actually understand the other person's point of view, but this is an effort we really need to start making. If you're going to dismiss people with conservative viewpoints as despicable, ignorant, or if an elected official shows conservative views, automatically a terrible decision maker, we're not going to make it as a unified society. Now, people tend to look down on conservatives because our viewpoints are often accused of being based around hatred and bigotry. But I can say with absolute certainty that that's not true. Now, I know that there are people out there whose viewpoints, unfortunately, are based around hatred and bigotry. But those people are not the norm. They're the ones who take the viewpoints too far and use the ideology as an excuse for their prejudices. As a whole, we're not hateful and prejudiced. We just have different viewpoints from most people in popular culture. It's not a question of who's right and who's wrong. It's just two different ways of looking at a concept. And there's no reason why both sides can't be right in their own way. One of the biggest issues that socially divides us is abortion. Now, I know I'm treading on thin ice by bringing this up, but I'm hoping I can at least make this clear. Being pro-life does not make you a sexist. Pro-life is not anti-woman. It's not anti-choice. That's actually a very derogatory way of putting it. It's like calling the police department anti-freedom. It's an unfair description that completely debases the whole purpose behind it. No, the viewpoint here is about preserving life, not about repressing women. The conservative take on the issue is that an unborn child is a living thing that deserves protection. And that's not entirely unfounded, since a fetus does have a heartbeat and a nervous system. But even putting that aside, we generally feel that the ability to produce new life is a precious one and shouldn't be messed around with. It's not a desire to inhibit women, it's a desire to stop irresponsible sexual behavior. And that goes for everyone, whether you supply the sperm or the egg. Now, another thing that's too often associated with conservatives is racism. Now, people who are racist and claim they're defending conservative ideology by being so have no idea what they're talking about. The only race-related stance that actually is a part of conservative ideology is opposing affirmative action. Now, you might consider that racist, but think for a moment about what that really means. Affirmative action is when an organization leans toward people of a certain race when deciding on new members. So being opposed to this practice means that you don't lean toward people of a certain race. In other words, you look at everyone equally. Everyone gets a fair chance regardless of who they are. And this is really the main goal of the civil rights movements. So really, a true conservative is on your side. Of course, I can't make an attempt to defend conservative viewpoints unless I bring up the topic you're all waiting for me to address: the LGBT community. Now, let me just say straight out that I don't entirely agree with the traditionally conservative viewpoint on this issue. Of course, I'm as much against bullying, discrimination, and harassment as the next person. Everyone deserves a fair chance to succeed, regardless of their orientation. However, I maintain that the conservative viewpoint on the issue is not centered around hatred and bigotry. What conservatives believe in is the strength of the family dynamic. Having a strong, healthy family enables people to develop good communication skills, a stronger sense of empathy toward each other, the ability to make more informed decisions, and a solid moral compass. It's for this reason that the family dynamic is considered the cornerstone of a functioning society. And you can't really fault people for wanting to encourage that. Now, even before gay marriage became an issue, the family dynamic was already starting to shake apart, as more and more people were growing up in broken homes. So, by the time gay marriage started entering the picture, the worry was that this would be the last straw, that one loose brick that would cause everything to topple over like a bad game of Jenga. Again, I don't agree with this stance, but it doesn't come from a place of hatred. It just comes from a difficulty in understanding. It is unfortunately very easy to attack things that you don't fully understand, simply for that reason. And that goes for people on both sides of the political spectrum. You can take whatever stance you want, but that doesn't mean that people who take the opposite stance are your enemies. The sooner we realize that there's room for people with all socio-political viewpoints, the better off we'll all be.